Our wide receivers play wide receiver, our running backs play running back, our offensive line play offensive line, our linebackers play linebacker, our DBs play DB, our D-line plays D-line, and our quarterback plays quarterback. Our kicker kicks and our punter punts and our snapper snaps. There you go. They'll all have white UCLA uniforms on.
How has Soso's motto developed from the beginning of fall camp to now? How's he going?
He's done, I think, a really nice job of developing. He's still got a long ways to go, but you see it happening. He's gained about 10 pounds. He's much more solid. He understands the offense a lot better. He's learning to run with lower pad level. That's always going to be a challenge for him because he's 6'3". But I've felt like there's a number of runs this year where he's just gets tripped up, or he's out the gate. And I think that'll just come with added strength and experience and certainty in what he's doing. But we're really happy with Soso. I think he's got a tremendous future here.
Have you seen more of a willingness to, after a hit, to keep going? Because at the beginning of fall camp, he was a little tentative, and it doesn't look like he is now.
No, he's not tentative at all now. I think, it's just part of getting used to the speed and the physicality of this level. And you come in, I think, for any freshman, it's a little bit like, whoa, this is different than high school football. But now you see a guy who runs with a lot more aggression, and he's hitting the hole with more intensity and certainty. And the guy's a good player, and he's going to just continue to get better.
What has Jordan Leslie shown you in practice that might garner him a little bit?
Well, what I like about Laz is that his focus is there. You've asked him to play multiple positions. Being a receiver isn't just being a receiver. There's an X, there's a Z, there's a Y, there's a T, there's an F. There's a whole bunch of different positions. And being a backup, he seems to be a guy that you can plug in at any spot, and he goes in and he gets it done. Like we put him in last week on that that key third down he caught, and that was a new position for him. But because he's been paying attention to meetings, because he's been doing a nice job at practice, he's able to go in there and execute. And I think that's just a sign of his maturity and his focus.
Is he in the wide receiver meeting, or are there different meetings for the different positions? Or how does that work?
Our meetings are different every day. Sometimes the whole offense meets together. Sometimes it's the quarterbacks and the receivers. Sometimes it's the running backs and the linemen. Sometimes it's the running backs and the receivers. Sometimes it's the quarterbacks with the offensive line. Sometimes it's everybody separate. So every day is different.
Before Kenny Clark, what he needs to do.
Who?
Kenny Clark.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about him, what he needs to do defense overall?
Stability, consistency, size in the middle, an anchor. Every defense that's, wants to be good has to have an anchor. It's like any sport, you say you have to be strong down the middle. And he's been the one consistent thing down the middle for us. As you know, behind him there's been inconsistency at linebacker. At safety we've had to work through a few issues early in the year, but he's always been steady in the middle. And so has Ely since Eddie went out. Ely's done a nice job as well. But I think Kenny will step up and have a really good game. Kenny, at that position, his performance isn't always reflected in statistics. But when you watch the film, you see a guy who dominates. He really does. He's a dominant player.
Is it unusual for a guy his size to play 100 plays in a game?
I think so. I think that goes to his conditioning, and I think it goes more than anything just to his will, and his mental toughness, his physical toughness, his desire to be great and be a role model.
Before Devin Fuller got dinged up, what was he doing well at in moving to outside?
Everything, because he wasn't just playing outside. He was playing inside, he was playing outside, he was returning kicks, and he was, when he had the ball in his hands, he was making plays. He was playing with a lot of intensity, and he was a different guy. And so, hopefully he'll be ready to go and able to give that to us. But if he's not, someone else will step in. And I just think he, over the course of his career, has made tremendous growth. He's probably in the one area that I've seen is just that innate toughness. Putting his shoulders down and moving the chains forward.
How did you feel Matt Mangle did last week, going back and hitting all the punts? He had the 64-yarder.
What's that?
How did you feel Matt Mangle did last week?
Better, yeah. Matt made strides last week, certainly. I think he I'd like to say that he got over the hump, but we'll see. I think you have to continually back it up. But, it was, as you know, we have an alternate punting plan with Kenny Walker. Gives us a little bit something different, but if Matt's going to be able to do what he did last week, then we'll stick with that, and I think he'll be able to. I feel like he's he's kind of over the hump, but we'll see.
How do you coach a punter through that? Is it a mental game? Do you work on technique?
Both. You're continually refining your technique. and the mechanics of kicking. But I think as much as that, it is mental. You know, when you're talking about a kicker or a punter where they only get, you know, limited chances in a game, and so, you know, one poor kick is magnified to the extent that it is, it becomes very mental. And it depends on their personality. You have to treat them all differently. You know, there are, believe it or not, some kickers and punters that react to getting chewed out a little bit. You know, Matt's told me that before, which I thought is interesting. He said, you know, yell at me, get mad at me, it helps me. I'm like, okay. You know, typically with kickers and punters, you kind of got to you kind of baby them along a little bit, or, you know, stroke their ego and try to help them through that. But they're all different. It's interesting. It's fun. It's a challenge.
How tough has it been on the defense end? Practically a different mic
Every week?
playing, yeah, like a quarterback in the defense.
It changes everything, because when you have a different mic, essentially we have a different jack, which is the weak inside linebacker. And you know, people just say, well, he's an inside linebacker, but there's two different positions. It's like saying, you know, he's an offensive lineman. I mean, there's guards and there's tackles and there's centers. Or he's a wide receiver. You know, there's outside guys, there's inside guys, and the complexities of playing the position change when you change positions. And, you know, I've said it a lot of times, it's like, you know, we have to keep reassembling the puzzle every week, you know, and trying to get the pieces to fit and fit comfortably, and it's not easy. If you want to look at the bright side, it's that a lot of guys are getting a lot of experience, and so down the line, it's going to help us. And I see us moving in the right direction there. You know, it's just at times we've lacked the consistency that we'd like to have because of the inconsistency of who's playing the position.
How's John done moving between Jack and Mark?
He's done well. I mean, and it's not easy to do. You know, your assignments change on every play, but he's done a nice job. He played well last week. He's come out this week and he's had a good week of practice. He's gone back to Jack. You know, who knows what's going to happen in the game? He might end up. Who knows where he's going to end up? But he's shown a real willingness to work hard, work through it, spend the extra time that's necessary, come out here and practice with intensity, and I've been really impressed with Jim.
Is there anything particularly challenging going up against OSU? I know they're winless right now, but that you see maybe going up against them, or just like, could it be a trap that they're winless? And
well, they've won games.
Well, winless in the Pac-12.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, they've won games. Well, yeah, I think their quarterbacks offer a real unique challenge, and that their mobility is something we have to be really careful of. You know, they have the ability to get out and run and make plays, and that's something that we've struggled against this year. You know, I think anytime you go on the road into an unfamiliar environment, you know, it takes a little bit of extra focus. I think that, the weather is something that, you know, we haven't seen yet. I don't think it'll be a factor. Both teams playing it. It hasn't affected us in the past when we've had to play games in inclement weather. You know, we've been a pretty good road team. So, you know, I think more than anything, more than Oregon State, it comes back to UCLA and our players and our coaches just performing as best as we can and as consistently as we can and executing the way we're capable of. And if we do that, then we should have a chance to have success. All right? All right, guys. See you. Have a good day.